I really know that we have to get started, but I have to share that like I've been in several meetings with a lot of people like during quarantine, and there's always like one like middle-aged straight guy who's just in the meeting like with an unnecessary microphone, and it's just like you don't need that. There's also something funny about like the concept of normalizing queerness, because I think that queerness inherently doesn't really have any interest in being normal. You know, like that's part of what I love about the community is like the demands will never stop. Like we do want to change the world. I don't want all of our work to just end up being called like a subgenre. It's just like, no, we make good music and everyone should be listening to it.
I think this also comes from not just being queer for me, but I think my anger also comes from being like growing up being a girl, and also that being the way that I'm viewed and the way that even though Naomi is genderqueer, but the way that we are either viewed as like a girl band or a queer band, and why can't we just be talked about as a band that makes dank music?
Or like a way to sort of like pay homage to those identities existing without trivializing the nature of the art. It's like a strange balance to have to strike to sort of figure out how to navigate a world that like obviously needs more queer inclusion and needs more voices of people of color to be uplifted, and obviously like being a trans person or even like a woman or a female identifying person or femme identifying person who's a sex worker. Like they're voices that we need to like work to uplift, but it's trying to do it like figuring out how to do it in a way that's like respectful and safe and not trivializing and not like, you know, talking about a community as being a homogenous one, because we're not. I'm queer, but not in a fun way. I'm not fun. Boring.
We started this band in like 2013 or 2014. And since then, I think there's so much more visibility. And so my hope is that queer kids and like young adolescents, like people that are growing up now, have something to point to when they're like figuring out who they are. That just really lets them know like this is an option. I think a lot of us maybe started a process of coming out almost all over again, like as it started being more visible in society. And I think we're all still experiencing that in different ways, like because now there's this other layer of like we're getting more examples of how we can exist as a gender identity that feels true to us.
We just sort of feel a freedom in tandem with like the ways that society has sort of opened up and been more kind of publicly accepting of fluid identity just in general. So I don't know, I don't really think about it that much, and I feel lucky to not feel as much of like the shame that I used to feel about my queerness and my gender identity. I don't know, I feel lucky to live in like a place in America that's very open and accepting, and I feel really free.
Who do we give value that sustains over time and why? And I think for the most part, it's like straight men get to have the long careers and we have to go open a bakery. That's why it's so interesting and amazing and humbling to see people all across the United States, like whether they're in a city or a rural area, just like being brave and like expressing themselves and, you know, being messy. And I actually think that having those experiences with our fans they've helped me be more myself.
I think people use like our shows to really just seek some sort of like catharsis. And I think that's the thing that is maybe the most humbling, is that you can see people really seek freedom in whatever way like that is. And whether that's like dancing and crying at the same time or just crying, because, you know, there are a few people like that.